The Cowboys made a huge move in free agency, and it forced them to consider risk versus reward. Former Panther Greg Hardy has a one-year deal worth $11 million. None of it's guaranteed, and Hardy needs to be on the roster in order to get paid. The contract essentially protects the Cowboys if and when Hardy's punishment for domestic violence is issued. One of his former teammates, Ben Hartsock, had this to say.
You trust him to the extent of you don't necessarily know what you're going to get, because the Greg Hardy that was on the field was going to be a nightmare for people, the opposing team, I mean. But then you go in and everybody's in the hot tub or in the cold tub after practice just shooting the breeze, and the guy carries on a very reasonable, level-headed, inquisitive type of conversation. But then there are other times where he's just unmanageable. That's why things, I think, have gotten in trouble with his personal life. He's going to have to go a long ways to earn the trust of any organization, whether it be Dallas or any other franchise across the league. His reputation has now become an Achilles heel.
The NFL says Hardy's case is still under review. In fact, they are trying to get a hold of documents during the July case in which he was convicted but later dismissed. Joining us now is our NFL analyst, Mark Brunell. You've heard about the case. You read about the DV case.
Yes.
You know about his reputation on and off the field. And considering all that's been out there these last few days, are you comfortable with this deal that the Cowboys were able to sign with him?
Well, from a football perspective, I'm very comfortable. Greg Hardy is a game changer. There are not many out there like him. He can win football games for you. And let me speak from a Dallas Cowboy, his future teammate. They start in about 3 weeks, I believe, off-season conditioning. And in my time, 19 years in the NFL, we had a number of players come through there that had problems off the field. And there are no secrets. You understand full well what those issues are, what kind of baggage they're bringing into the locker room, into that environment. But as a teammate and as a Dallas Cowboy, and my experience was, regardless of those issues that come into your locker room, to a degree you embrace your new teammate. They become family. You spend more time with them than you do with your own family members during the season. And you hope in that process, you hope with your new teammate that is bringing a lot in, that within that structure, within that work, with the camaraderie, the discipline that it requires, you hope that whatever off-the-field issues they have, that they can get those issues worked out. The NFL is a league of second chances. It is becoming a league where you don't get a third chance. Greg Hardy will not get a third chance, but he will get a second chance with the Dallas Cowboys. And personally, and I've wrestled with this, I've thought about this, I'm a firm believer in second chances. He made a horrible mistake. I read some of the testimony of Nicole Holder. It was terrible, terrible, despicable, unacceptable. And you hope that, my hope for Greg Hardy is that he can get his life right, that he gets this second chance, and through therapy, counseling, whatever it takes to get his life back on track. The Dallas Cowboys, to a degree, will embrace him in that locker room. He becomes family. He's on the team. Certainly, he will help them, but you hope for Greg Hardy's sake that what was clearly an issue can get fixed.
We all agree that he should get a second chance. What do you think his punishment should be?
I think it needs to be significant. I believe anything less than 8 games would be a surprise to me. 4 is too light. 6, I could deal with it. 8, I think that's appropriate. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a year. Right. And a year could be justified considering what he did, what his actions were. Yeah. I think it'll be 8 games.
All right. Stephen A., revisit your take.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think 8 games definitely suffices here, but I'm incredibly comfortable with this deal for the Dallas Cowboys because, again, there's no risk and the potential for extreme reward. The reality of the situation is this. Let's graduate as a society from constantly blaming, people who had nothing to do with it just because they extend a hand to give somebody a second chance. According to the bench judge, the judge during the bench trial, Hardy's guilty. In our eyes, based on the testimony that I read, as far as I'm concerned, he's lucky he's not in jail. I've already articulated how North Carolina law allows you to appeal that decision and take it to a jury trial, but she wasn't available for the jury trial. The prosecutors couldn't find her, so as a result of that, they had to throw the case out, and then he ultimately reached a settlement with her. But anybody that reads that testimony, there is no question that you walk away feeling like Greg Hardy's a vile, disgusting individual that needs to be dealt with based on that testimony. Well, the NFL has rules and regulations in place. It calls for a minimum of a 6-game ban for a first-time offender and a lifetime ban for a second-time offender. The fact that you now have that policy in place, to me, is why everybody should relax and be comfortable with the deal that he's just made with the Cowboys. Why? Because, number one, the Cowboys, like Skip said, it's like a week-to-week thing. It's nothing guaranteed here. He has no security. He can't afford to act up. And number two, if he does, he's going to be banned for life, according to the NFL's new domestic violence policy. The deterrent is in place. The NFL has spoken and society has spoken that this will not be tolerated. So as far as I'm concerned, you move on from here. Like Mark said, America's the land of second chances. You give the man a second chance, but it's also his last chance because it won't happen a third time. It happens again. That's it for him. Yeah. And that's what we have to understand here. There will not be a third shot at this. You mess this up, it is over. So with that reality staring us all in the face, let's make sure we understand here. We may agree or disagree with the Dallas Cowboys decision. And you know I'm a Cowboy hater, but that's all in fun. We're talking about football. This is real life. Jerry Jones did not hit that woman. Stephen Jones didn't hit that woman. You know, the Cowboys organization didn't hit that woman. The NFL didn't hit that woman. It's Greg Hardy, according to her. So let's not act like, oh, my Lord, because they grabbed him for their roster, it's an indictment against them. In situations like this, that's all about him. That's not about the team.
And by the way, Stephen A., it wasn't just according to her, it was according to the court that he hit her. So,
yes.
Okay.
He was found
yeah,
guilty.
the judge found her guilty. Yes.
Okay. Quick, let's go back quickly to that Ben Hartsock audio that we just heard.
Yeah.
Okay, just for the record, and I brought this up earlier, and please speak to it. Unmanageable. You know, he's a supreme talent, as we all, you point out. He's a game changer. I spent a lot of time, unfortunately, around the great Charles Haley. I don't know if you remember him when he was a Dallas Cowboy.
5.
Yeah, he's got 5. And thankfully, he finally got in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
I am no fan personally of Charles Haley because I know way too much and had too many battles personally with him. But he was the greatest pass rusher I ever saw. Okay, was he unmanageable? He was completely unmanageable for most people. Somehow the Cowboys figured out how to deal with it. San Francisco couldn't and just gave him away to their rest of the story. Okay, so let's not read too much into that. I'm not surprised that somebody would say that Greg Hardy is unmanageable. Read the testimony, right? Okay, that's who the guy is. Okay, now back to my mixed emotions. I grew up a Cowboy fan. I can't help it. I can't get it out of my system. So last night I'm reading, one of our analysts said, wow, if they had Greg Hardy to Mincy and Crawford and that kid DeMarcus Lawrence who came on late, especially against Detroit in the playoff game, that they could have, the phrase was, maybe the best pass rush in pro football. And I'm like, oh, good. And then I thought, it just feels wrong.
To root for?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said earlier, I will still root for this team.
Right.
I can't applaud this deal. I just can't because it still feels wrong. And again, Jerry Jones has long had a propensity of sort of winding up in the wrong picture at the wrong time. But we showed a picture earlier that I saw last night that just it made me a little sick in my stomach. Because there's Jerry Jones sharing a laugh with Greg Hardy. It just doesn't look right to me.
Doesn't feel right.
Does that look right to you?
No, it doesn't feel right.
It's like Hardy har har,
As
right?
if there's no remorse or if there's
yeah, come on. Sure. Really? You're sharing a laugh? It's just the wrong image at the wrong moment. So I can't get past the fact he was convicted in a bench trial. I can't. So now we're back to punishment. And you talk about second chance. The second chance is fine with me, but it's going to have to come after a significant NFL-mandated punishment. And again, we went back and forth because he did miss 15 games last year with pay but he still had to. He couldn't play football for 15. Should that count a little bit toward the punishment? Maybe.
I don't think so because he got paid.
I don't think so too.
Okay.
Let me speak to Ben Hartsock's comment. He was a teammate of mine.
Oh,
a lot of respect for Ben.
Where'd you cross paths?
Oh boy, there's so
Jets?
many teams. I believe it was. I don't know. It was one of those teams.
Okay. We'll research it. We'll research
He
it.
played for six.
Let's define unmanageable,
Okay.
because Greg Hardy wasn't the only unmanageable guy on that team. I guarantee you. I had a lot of teammates. I've had a number of unmanageable, however that word is defined to you.
Yeah.
Loose cannons, knuckleheads, guys that are just out there.
Okay.
Every NFL roster has 2 or 3 unmanageable, however you decide, guys that are just tough, yes, to manage, to get in the building, to get them to study, get them to work, have off the field issues. That is the NFL.
Okay.
Okay, I accept that. But again, when that line gets crossed this way, then it's time for the NFL to quit dragging its feet. And we talked about this earlier. I don't know why the punishment couldn't have been levied already. Like we should have already heard.
It's time.
The moment he signs the dotted line, oh, he's gone for 8 games, or he's gone for the year. I would have no problem with the year.
But Skip, let me get back to you on this, and I respect your position. I'm in all seriousness, man. I'm not, and nobody's in a position to disagree with where you're coming from, Skip. But I need you to really absorb how you sound. You talked about not having a problem with him being gone for the year. That's fine. But then I would ask you this: once the year was up, assuming he got suspended for the year, how would you feel then? Because I know that you say that, to you it should be a year, and I get where you're coming from. Mark believes it should be a minimum of 8 games. I'm totally cool with 8 games, okay? But at the same time, the way you sound, it's almost as if you would support complete banishment from the NFL. So I would like to hear what you have to say about it, that assuming he gets the punishment you believe he deserves, would anything be enough for you?
Yes. Yes. That 1 year would definitely be enough for me. But I'm back to a point
But how would you be after is what I'm asking.
Okay, I'm back to a point you made earlier in the show, given the testimony from the bench trial. Remember, you could write this off if you so chose as a moment, a fit of rage. But as you pointed out, one of the neighbors called, according to testimony,
And said he was.
and said he's doing it again. He's beating her again.
You know what? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's official testimony from a conviction. So again, in the climate we're in, again, if there were video of this, what do you think would happen? Oh. Okay. So are we now to a point? If there's no video, it's not so bad. Is that where we are? I don't want to go there. I don't want to be there. I think.
Well, the reason, but the reason I asked you the question, Skip, is because you kept making the point that nobody else would touch him but Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. So I guess what I'm asking you is, if he got the year, what do you think would happen? And do you still believe that nobody should touch him, even though he would obviously be allowed to come back into the league?
No, I do not want a lifetime ban of Greg Hardy. I do not. And you both have made the point.
Okay.
America's the land of second chances, but it's also the land of taking responsibility for your actions and paying a price for them. That's why people go to jail. So this is effectively would be his punishment in a league that is saying that it's now sensitive to an issue it's never been sensitive to. Show us.
Do you believe that the commissioner's exempt list was punishment for him last year? I haven't really got your take on that.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was punishment because he did get paid.
Well, it was some punishment. I mean, you took him out of, again, I assume he loves playing football. You certainly punished his team last year. It was a playoff team. Maybe it would have been a little better team with him rushing from the edge. Yeah, I think that's some punishment, even though he didn't lose a nickel. He's about to lose a bunch of nickels, I think.
Yes.
You played with Ben Hartsock, 2010 Jets.
Jets.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you remember?
I do now.
Now we do.
There's a few teams there, Carrie.
No, well, a handful.
A handful.
All right.
Handful.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, Mark Brunell. I appreciate it. Come back anytime.